Hello, I'm going to give you a demonstration on how to deal with issues that may arise when you're using UCM Cloud Migration Assistant and, for example, you see phones without external number masks flagged. So in this example, after the validation process is run, you can see that there's issues on the left, and looking at the summary, there's UCM phones without E164 numbers defined. And the actual rule is that phones and devices without external number masks for E164 must be flagged. What if having external number masks is important to your customer's migration? You could go to UCM to each line and change the external number mask or add a valid external number mask, for example, here. Or you could use a batch job. Phones, add update lines, and update lines. And then you'd search for the external number mask and you'd add something that would make sense.
And now for the demonstration. So here from Customer Migration 6, I'm going to begin discovery. I'll give it a name and we'll call it Migration 6. Start discovery process. Notice I got a clock up here so you can see the time because I'm going to be collapsing the time. Now that discovery is completed, part of the allocation is completed, and part of the validation is to apply the business rules that were set. And these are the business rules, and you'll notice that, for example, users without lines, devices, and there, users without external number mask E164. And because of that, if we have a look here, you'll notice that there's UCM phone lines without E164. So we can actually have a look at the issues and resolutions, and there's several ways to deal with these. You can either resolve the issues by clicking either here or view, and then once you've done that you can mark the issue as resolved, or you could disable the rule and clear it. Well, if you're going to disable the rule, you could just go here and clear the rules. So for example, let's get rid of lines that are missing phones, phones without devices, phones without or devices without lines, phones device without E164. So we'll leave the E164 and get rid of everything else. So we come here and we say get rid of users without lines, users without devices, users without phones without lines, lines without phones, and that should be good. So we save the changes and we can come back to our migration and we can rediscover the migration in order to make sure that we come back with only the E164 issues. And now the only rule that's applied that is caught anything is the fact that we've got UCM phones without E164. So as a reminder, let's have a look at the rules and you'll see why. And that's because we've disabled the other issues that this particular source cluster has. So now that we've figured that out, let's have a look at issues and resolutions. And we can see there are 9 phones or devices without an E164. So what we can do is we could either disable the rule, which is very similar to clicking the rule over here and disabling it, and clear the issue. But what if that's important, as we discussed earlier? So let's have a look at these devices. We can click on view, and these are the particular devices that have issues. So we see there's a bunch of phones and there's a CTR route point. So if I click on one of the phones, and we can actually scroll all the way down, and you'll see that the mask is E164 mask is set to null, and that's the issue. So we're going to fix that in the source cluster. So with that, I'm going to switch to the UCM cluster now, and I'm going to find my devices, and this is a very small sample lab system. So I'm going to find a device, and I'm going to go to one of its lines, and I can just put a slash in to search for mask, and then do Control G, and there's the external number mask, and that is the issue. So what we can do is let's make a bulk administration job. So we're going to go to phones, and we're going to say add update lines, and now we find all the devices, and again we can search for mask, and Control G to find there's the external number mask. So we say select that, And let's put in something, and as you can see I've been playing around, so let's make that as the mask and run this job immediately, and we submit it. So there the job's been run, and we can go to the job scheduler now and we can have a look. You can see I've been playing around, and so the task has been completed. So now if I search for the device, and we can look at the same device again, and now the mask has been applied. So now we switch interfaces again, and we're back at Migration Assistant. So now that we're back at Migration Assistant and we've added valid masks to the device, we can rediscover this migration. The reason we rediscover the migration is because Migration Assistant essentially interrogates the source UCM cluster and takes the contents of that interrogation and loads Migration Assistant's database. And everything is used off of Migration Assistant's database. So that's why we're going to retrieve the fresh data again and again. And now that the discoveries happen, the allocations happen, and the validation, we'll see that there's still an error, and that is because, remember, there was a CTR route point. So now we're down from 9 devices to only 1 device, and in this case it's going to be that CTR route point. Yep. So we can have a look here and search for mask again, and there's the E164 mask that is null. And so we could take care of that in the exact same ways we did the devices, but for the purpose of this demonstration, that you've seen enough. Thank you.